Let's begin in Scotland, where we are closely watching the UN Climate Summit in Glasgow this hour. Just a few minutes ago, the U.S. President Joe Biden, he outlined a plan to reduce methane emissions by 30% by 2030. And dozens of countries have already signed on to do the same. So for more, let's go to Tessa Arcilio. She's covering the summit for us today. Joins us live right now from the Media Centre in Glasgow. So Tessa, good to see you. Let's start here with the breaking news about Biden's pledge to reduce methane pollution. What exactly is he saying?
Yeah, U.S. President Joe Biden, he was playing this up as soon as he arrived here. In fact, yesterday, this is a joint project with the European Union. So the plan is to cut methane in the atmosphere. You know, we've had record levels of methane last year in the air, and it is 80 times more potent, Michael, than carbon dioxide in warming the planet. So it is imperative, they say, to get this under control. Now, the Commission President Ursula von der Leyen said that this is a low-hanging fruit. There are ways to do this quite quickly because the sources of methane are agriculture, oil production rigs, and landfills, for example. So the U.S. was also pledging to get that under control, the leaks coming from their oil and gas rigs. Now, this is what Joe Biden had to say about this momentous moment, actually, from today. Take a listen.
It's one of the most potent greenhouse gases there is. It amounts to about half the warming we're experiencing today, just the methane exposure. So together, we're committing to collectively reduce our methane by 30% by 2030, and I think we could probably go beyond that.
So there is a positive tone, certainly there, Michael, but more also coming from today because the first big deal that came out was on deforestation. That was what Boris Johnson was touting as a win because more than 100 countries had committed to ending and reversing deforestation, which includes countries like Indonesia, which is the world's largest exporter of palm oil, and Brazil, where large stretches of the Amazon have been undergoing deforestation. So this is a big deal also, and there is an accompanying financial pledge to that, around $23 billion. The EU alone had pledged $1 billion to this deforestation effort. So this is one pledge that's setting the vision. Take a listen to what Prince Charles had to say about this.
The first action I would suggest is to re-engineer the world's financial economic system to disincentivize deforestation and reward countries and communities for the protection of their forests and the pursuit of a forest-positive economy.
While all of that sounds positive, Michael, there have been some criticism from indigenous groups in the Amazon, for example. They said they weren't involved in the conversation. If this is a decision that affects them, they should have been involved in the talks. Michael?
Okay, so notably hearing there from both the U.S. President and the Prince there, Tessa. But let's also talk about Justin Trudeau, because the Prime Minister did take part in a roundtable conversation today. There's also another panel discussion taking place about oceans that's happening right now. Walk us through those details, please.
Yes, well, one big announcement coming from Justin Trudeau, because Canada is taking the lead, is actually on carbon pricing. So there are different topics he is attending today, but that was a big announcement from Canada because the Canadian model is being presented to other countries as one that could be followed, especially for those that don't actually have a carbon pricing mechanism in place. Now, he had outlined some very ambitious goals there. He said that he wants to push Canada's cost on pollution, as he called it, price on pollution, to $170 per ton. And he said he hopes that by 2030, 60% of emissions would be covered by carbon pricing. Take a listen to what Justin Trudeau said on that.
One of the things I think we all know needs to come out of COP is a clearer call to create a global standard around putting a price on pollution. Not only will that encourage innovation, give that clear price signal to the private sector that making the right capital investments to transform to lower emissions makes sense, but it also ensures that those who are leading on pricing pollution don't get unfairly penalized.
Well, a global standard is what they all want on various topics, so carbon pricing being one of them, so that there is a uniform way of monitoring progress. But as he mentioned there, fairness is key as well, because what is fair for one country might not necessarily be fair for another. So that is where the negotiations are going to take place.